Blew up your claymore and killed you, you cunts! Look at that, there's two claymores side by side. One is spooning. There is claymore spooning going on the top of that fucking building, man.
Of course.
Jesus Christ. So I made a video at the very beginning of this year about how there's no fucking way that the upcoming Call of Duty game would be Ghost 2 and instead would be called Modern Warfare 4, which had many people jumping to the wrong conclusion on the Tom Smikowski map and mentioned that the upcoming Infinity Ward title will be Ghost 2. Ugh, just saying that out loud makes me want to jump into a bubble bath with a toaster. And yet, while we eventually got a name change, reboots on the ground, Modern Warfare, no, not that one with the 4 or the remastered version from 2 years ago. However, the game that Infinity Ward actually made is Ghost 2 after playing it, just in a different name. I didn't get a chance to play the beta because I was on vacation in Germany, and I promise I'll cut together my holiday vlog sometime soon, but I didn't even need footage from the game. Just based on the Gaming Revolutions leaks, which turned out to be mostly true long before the reveal where we even saw any footage, I said the following in my video covering said leaks. So about those classes, the Pick 10 system, which offers the widest variety of customization, is gone for the more simpler variations, similar to the old Modern Warfare games. Before I go into more detail about what fills these slots, this idea is fucking asinine. Speaking of streaks, they are again going back to the kill streak model instead of score streaks, which is another downgrade. Oh, and there are also the UAVs, standard, advanced like a VSAT, and personal, which the latter is only for the kill streak earner, not for the entire team, which leads me to the minimap changes, as apparently the minimap is absent. This is a horrific idea for many reasons. This to me is the worst part of all of the leaks, because if it's true, this game will be supercalifragilisticexpial atrociously slow to play. Just hearing the design elements of the game and without seeing a second of actual gameplay, I knew that this would be a recalculously slow-paced, tactical, campy affair. My suspicions were confirmed after watching footage from the Gunfight Alpha, which was relegated to one platform because both Sony and Activision are spelled with $, and the 2 beta weekends, even after all of the supposed improvements made after community complaints. So I canceled my pre-order after the Spec Ops Survival situation, since I wasn't going to be able to play the beta anyways, which is the sole reason you should ever pre-order games, because it's one of the biggest contributors to the bad state of the industry nowadays, and I held off on a day one purchase until I saw the product that we were eventually getting. Maybe I'm just not an idiot thinking that, oh, Infinity Ward's got some time, they'll incorporate some feedback from the demo period to get into their product, but I don't understand how so many people are just now complaining about how terror-bad the game is when it's been blatantly obvious before we even saw footage of it. Sure, there were definitely people that called out the camping problem in the game, but going back and watching different reviews from tons of different YouTubers makes the game not seem as truly abhorrent as it actually plays. I eventually broke down and bought it after some peer pressure from my friends, thanks assholes, and I should have just saved my money because I didn't need to actually experience it for myself to know that it's a giant pile of shit. With that background out of the way, and since you already know that Ghost is my most loathed Call of Duty ever, this game isn't going to get a lot of praise, but I'll touch on some things that haven't already been said about the game ad nauseum in its first full week of release. I don't know what the fuck Infinity Ward was thinking when they drew this one up, except to sneak in a sequel to the most campy game in the franchise under the guise of rebooting an iconic one, probably as a way to boost sales. And yet the campaign of Call of Duty Ghosts ended off on a cliffhanger, so they couldn't even reuse that element from that game into this new Modern Warfare reboots on the ground. The community generally hated Ghosts, and it's the reason why a lot of the YouTube friends that I used to game with all the time just quit Call of Duty altogether. They didn't like the slower paced version of Call of Duty World War II prior to the Division's overhaul that sped up and saved the game, so why would they think that the third time would be the charm here? This game caters to a camping, tactical playstyle, which is so much easier to play and requires less skill than the rushing, arcadey, shooty manner that the series is known for. They wanted to make more playstyles viable, and in turn they only made one that could actually be done. I mean, look at the gameplay in the background. This is about as much rushing as I can possibly do in this game, and it's me sitting under a fucking bridge the entire time like a goddamn troll. I know it's been said on so many other review videos, but I'd like to list out the game design decisions that led us to where we are right now with Camp of Duty Modern Snooze Fest. The map design with so many PowerPoints that encourage non non-movement from said positions, because crossing a street will get you lit up like the sky on the 4th of July. Very fast time to kill with a huge headshot multiplier that makes it difficult to fight back even when shot first, so people are going to hold those lines of sight in order to get the first shot that makes them get their kills. The ability to mount weapons and lean around corners to get that advantage that I just mentioned. The lethality of claymores along with perks that allow you to have more than one of them down at a time, and the ability to replenish them over time, even if they just fix the tactical grenade disabling claymores that led to this clip when I was unaware that they changed a mechanic that's been a thing in Call of Duty for over a fucking decade now. No! I flashbanged that fucking claymore! Are you fucking kidding me?
What? The flashbang claymores? What?
Yeah, it's supposed to disable it!
Yeah, maybe in past Call of Duty, not in this one.
Why? Why does this game cater to campers so badly? Come on!
Just running OD.
I did, and I still got fucking killed. The fact that players are required to carry lethal and tactical pieces of equipment because going back to an inferior create a class system instead of a pick 10 style system means much more spam, as if they didn't learn from Call of Duty World War II when they forced everybody to run both the tactical and lethal, or the specialist abilities costing 0 points from Black Ops 4, so everybody took those things on a cooldown like getting menopause through a goddamn wall. The volume of footsteps, which leads people to freeze and then pre-aim where they hear an enemy coming around the corner, compounded by the fact that Dead Silence is an ability on a cooldown and not a continuously on permanent perk. To counter this means that players are going to lock down areas and or crouch walk around the map to not be heard, which also leads to a slower play style. The movement speed of players themselves just feels clunky with all of the gear and weapon attachments they have on, which I actually like the idea of attachments having both positive and negative aspects to them, but the majority of the negatives always end up being slower player speed, and don't get me started on how shitty the game's menu system is with regard to the gunsmith and navigation of getting to make your class. Anyways, not to mention the lack of perks to speed up a player's movement speed except for double time, which only speeds up the temporary portion of a player's burst movement, which should be how fast you move overall by default. Having kill streaks instead of score streaks, and having those kill streaks not count towards your next reward unless you put on a perk that also happens to occupy the most important perk slot in the entire game, means that people are not going to take risks for fear of getting killed one-off, like how the original Black Ops played a lot more slowly than Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3 because only gun kills counted towards streaks. Speaking of which, the UAV situation where players can choose a personal radar instead of a team-based radar that costs less in terms of how many kills they need to get, so they're going to inevitably run that one over the team-based one. So this way it lessens the amount of intel that all players have overall because we don't know where enemies are, and thus the action is going to get slowed to a grinding halt. That is then stacked with the change to the minimap whereby you don't show up when you fire an unsilenced weapon, which is a design decision that Battlefield also made in Battlefield 1, to a lesser extent with Battlefield 5, both of which play more tactical than their predecessors, but at least in those games you have a spotting mechanic when suppressed, or recon players can actually scope people out and show people up on their minimap, which isn't the case in Modern Warfare at all. The compass replacement isn't a suitable substitute since it gives general direction but not location within the confines of the over-convoluted map layouts, and you need multiple areas of your HUD to now make informed gameplay decisions about where to go, looking at both the middle bar in the center of your screen and the minimap on the left-hand side of your screen instead of a one-stop shop of just looking at the minimap that is now, by the way, smaller than what the normal de facto sizes have been in Call of Duties in the past. Even if Infinity Ward does implement the things that they say that they're going to, like bringing back the minimap of Yor, overhauling the footstep sounds, another buff to the Dead Silence ability, making improvements to the battle chatter, which has gotten me killed on numerous occasions when I've been sneaking up behind somebody and then I yell, "Contact!" and they just turn around and this shit happens. Contact! God, he turned around because he fucking heard. He heard me yell contact! Take that battle chatter bullshit out of the game! What the fuck, man? there are still a laundry list of design elements that need a complete removal and or overhaul to make this game not a complete camp show. There have been leaks about DLC maps, and we only know the names, but some of the returning maps from previous Infinity Ward titles are Rust and Shipment, probably for gunfight, but could be made for 6v6 if they use the COD Online versions with the extra spacing on either side. Crash, Vacant, Wetwork, Broadcast, Scrapyard, Oasis, Subbase, and of course, fucking Terminal again, which is honestly the only map I could do without in that list besides Wetwork, with regenerating frag ×2, sending shivers down my spine. But there aren't any great maps in Modern Warfare. Hackney Yard and Gunrunner are borderline tolerable, and Quarry is just a shittier version of Zavad 311, with that other map, Tavorsk District, basically being an absolute crap version of Downtown from Battlefield Hardline.
Well, actually, no. They can give you stuff. I'll tell you when you get to it.
God fucking damn it, man. Look at this shit! It's fucking rooftop warfare! Fuck, this game sucks. Even with the great addition of cross-platform play, the game is just spread too thin between the 2v2 gunfight mode with its own maps, 6v6 with its own maps, 10v10 with those maps, and finally Ground War with its own set of maps, all of which except gunfight are way too fucking big for the amount of players on them and overly designed for what they're supposed to be used for. You could carve up some of these maps into 2 or 3 pieces to make decent 6v6 maps maybe, but there's still the problem of having way too many lines of sight and power positions. As it stands, almost every single match I played has essentially gone to time limit, except for Ground War because the timer is absurdly long. Oh, and I've seen the tweets going around regarding about how this camping problem was an issue back in Modern Warfare 2, and take a look at this screenshot of a forum post taken during that time. Yes, there is going to be camping in every single Call of Duty game. But the sheer volume of that giant fuck-off list that I just rattled off earlier is why things are different with this Call of Duty than with Modern Warfare 2. And why it's so similar to Call of Duty Ghosts, because a lot of the design elements are exactly the same as that game. Yeah, there were some things that cater to campers in Modern Warfare 2, but there are also things that made other playstyles viable, like Marathon, Lightweight, and Ninja for rushers, powerful explosives to force players out of camping spots, maps that had much fewer power positions with a minimap that could show you what in the actual fuck is going on regarding to players showing up when firing unsilenced weapons. These aren't things that are in the current Call of Duty game, and Modern Warfare 2 didn't have other elements like gun attachments slowing down your movement speed, the ability to mount weapons and lean around corners, and kill streaks that are only obtainable via gun kills. Stop it with the comparisons. You look like a fucking idiot. Even though the PC port is pretty solid, and because of cross-platform play, it hopefully won't be dead in a few months like Black Ops 4, unless it turns into a ghost town, because it's essentially the spiritual successor to that game. Plus, if you add in all of the numerous bugs, like challenges not working because math is an Infinity Ward strong suit, and some pretty shoddy fucking hit detection, like me getting shot around corners here, I can't even see these people. I'm getting shot from around the fucking corner. Like, look at that! Or in this clip right here, where Knots probably uninstalled the game after this gunfight.
Oh, what?
What am I watching?
What was that?
What the fuck just happened?
What was that detection?
I just can't recommend this game to anybody unless you like a slow, methodical, tactical style of game. And if you do, hashtag sellout mode engage. You can get it for 8% off if you use my affiliate link for Green Man Gaming down in the description. While this game might get incrementally better with community feedback and based on what the developers have already said that they're working on, unless the gaming revolution isn't lying when he says that there is a massive overhaul coming, a la Call of Duty World War II in April of 2018, this game is fucked. It's just not one that I can enjoy at all. It's had very minor moments of fun because the kill streaks are actually good this year, thank fuck, but it's just way too agonizing to play for me to continue doing so. I didn't like Black Ops 4 much, but at least that game was somewhat fast-paced, and there were moments where I felt like a complete and total badass. This game, however, is on the same level of Ghosts, and it might be worse because the maps are just that fucking bad, even for Infinity Ward shitty standards. standards. I enjoyed their last game, Infinite Warfare, because of the advanced movement, but I had to run a silencer on every single class because the maps in that game had so many fucking flanking routes that I'd get shot in the back without one. Now, I just get shot whenever I come out of cover on my way to the next piece of cover. 3 shitty games in a row. What the fuck happened to you, Infinity Ward? Anyways, let me know down below what you think of the new Call of Duty game. Man, that's the shortest honeymoon phase ever. Non-existent. I've been DossSwans27, out like the Houston Astros. Until next time.
You're all like on sea and somehow, just somehow,
Can I
we're
not
losing.
jump through this window? Is my character too fat that I can't fit through this? Are you
It's
fucking
like
kidding
real
me,
life,
game?
innit?
I can fit
Dude,
through this doorway, but
imagine-
no, not this
yo.
one. Okay,
This
game.
guy,